The thoughts inside my head transpired into a dull, vacant realm. Nothing really seemed to perk my interest as the Mustang's tires sped around the tight, familiar corners. I honestly had no idea where I was going. No one had given me directions to town, and judging by my usual luck, I was practically guaranteed to get lost. I came to a stop at a distant intersection, checking both ways. Once I saw the road was clear, I accelerated across the street, constantly glancing around the tree line for any sort of familiar landmark. It was useless. The towering pines and the dense foliage were completely foreign to me. Sighing in frustration, I looked down at the dashboard and realized the Mustang had equipped onboard GPS system. I pulled over safely near a stop sign, typed in the coordinates for the Neo's grocery store, and shifted back into drive. I rolled down the driver's side window, letting my left arm hang out in the cool breeze while controlling the steering wheel with my right hand. As I rounded another sharp bend, an eerie, stagnant silence that haunted my thoughts all morning was suddenly shattered. In a unnerving howl echoed through the trees. It sounded painfully close. I immediately pulled over to the shoulder of the road and killed the engine. Sitting in suddenly quiet, I listened. The howl rose again. It was the most magnificent yet ominous thing I had ever heard. Back at home, Wisconsin was only known for cow, cheese, and beer. I had never experienced anything as majestically beautiful as the wail of this sound. Sitting frozen in the driver's seat, a shiver rippled straight down my spine. Something inside of me felt entirely misplaced. The wolf wasn't howling out of loneliness, it was howling out of pure agony and despair. Driven by an impulse I couldn't explain, I pushed the car door open and stepped out into the crisp air to investigate. I pushed back thick brush at the edge of the tree line. Not far from where I entered the forest, a low, pathetic whining cut through the quiet. I stopped dead in my tracks. A massive black wolf was trapped in the brush, its hind leg caught squarely in the rusted teeth of a heavy bear trap. My heart leapt straight to my throat, and I could feel the blood run cold. A pair of piercing, intelligent golden eyes locked onto me, staring directly into my soul. Hastily made my way toward the animal, trying to minimize the crunch of dry leaves beneath my boots. With every step I took, I could practically feel her pain. She yelped sharply, thrashing in a desperate bid to release herself from the iron jaws. But every time she moved her leg, the rusted trap only dug deeper into the flesh and bone. My heart raced with anxiety as I closed the distance, standing only a few feet from the majestic hunter. She was terrified, and honestly, so was I. I knew she could sense my fear, and, as a defensive reflex, she bared her sharp teeth, letting out a low, menacing growl. I took a deep breath, dropping to my knees in the dirt to examine the wound. The iron claws of the trap had dug agonizingly deep into her skin, locking her in a rusted embrace. She tried to pull her paw away from me, letting out a pained yelp. I gulped, forcing a soft, reassuring smile, and slowly extended my hands towards her. Suddenly, she snapped, her jaws at me. Her sharp canines nicked the surface of my hand. The contact was smooth, but her teeth was razor sharp. I froze. Never in my life had I been this close to a wild animal. The wolf whined, turning her head to bite at her own trapped leg in frustration.
Easy, girl.
Softly. Keeping my voice low and steady,
You're gonna be fine. I'll get you out of there.
I looked around for a piece of loose clothing to use as a makeshift bandage. Noticing a small frayed rip in my right sleeve of my heavy sweater, I jammed my finger into the hole, tearing the fabric open at the seams until I had a long, sturdy strip of cloth. The wolf watched me, her golden eyes glinting in the shaded canopy as she tilted her head curiously, reached my hand back towards her paw. This time she didn't snap. She lowered her wet nose to my hand, sniffing intently. The warm, damp air exploding from her nostrils tickled my knuckles. Then, She softly licked my hand. She whined once more, but made no sudden movements as I grabbed the heavy iron springs from the bear chip. Leaning all my weight into it, I pried the busted jaws open. The moment her leg was free, a dark gush of blood poured from the deep wound. Working quickly, I wrapped a strip of fabric tightly around her leg, securing it as a makeshift tourniquet. The relief was instant. She barked happily, her thick tail wagging wildly as she playfully pushed her front paws against my chest, knocking me back into the dirt. She rubbed her massive face against mine, licking me rapidly with intense appreciation. Her tongue went up my nose and around my eyes and all over my face. She tried desperately to shove her tongue into my mouth as I pushed her away. But when she had shifted her weight onto the wounded paw, she let out a sharp yelp and stumbled backwards, looking at me with a tilted head. I pushed myself up, brushing the damp dirt and pine needles from my pants. She barked once, gently nudging my hand with her wet nose. I pulled my hand away. She tilted her head, let out a soft whine, almost as if she was asking.
What did I do wrong?
No, I said.
Putting up a hand as I began to back away toward the road.
You have to stay here.
The wolf whimpered, tucking her tail tight under her leg. She turned, limping slowly back into the shadows of the dense forest. I watched her retreat until her black fur dissolved into the timber, letting out a heavy, contemplative sigh. I walked back to the Mustang, opened the door, and sank heavy into the leather driver's seat, just trying to let the racing adrenaline calm down. My heart was still beating wickedly fast. Raw adrenaline coursing through my veins made me completely lightheaded. I leaned my head back against the headrest, closing my eyes, just for a second to catch my breath, but the sheer exhaustion and the chemical burnout took over, and soon I blacked out.